This is version 3 of a drawing machine I've decided to call the iPadograph. In case you missed the first video of this machine, for which there's a link in the description below, it's a compound pendulum that moves an Apple Pencil over the surface of an iPad Pro running a doodling program. The changes to version 2 of this machine are that the elastic tensioner was added back in to provide more control over line spacing, and a movable table was added to increase the number of degrees of freedom, which I hope will enable the machine to create a wider range of traces. Another addition is this 16-inch archery target on the floor below the lower pendulum. It turns out the final shape of a trace is strongly influenced by the initial path of this lower pendulum. The target helps set up its initial paths more consistently. For example, with the table held still, if the lower pendulum swings in a counterclockwise circle over the black zone, while the main pendulum is given a clockwise elliptical orbit, the machine produces a trace that looks like a galaxy with spiral arms. Because the trace is produced digitally, its development can be captured as a video for later display on a television or for a live art show. For still images, the video can be paused at the exact moment the artist feels the trace is at its best and saved as a screen capture for later processing. Direct capture like this produces images far superior to those created by taking a photograph of or scanning traces produced by a pen and paper. But the greatest advantage is that it eliminates the hassle of having to change the paper every time you want a new trace. One additional advantage of particular value to videographers and artists wanting to display live action shows of their traces is that video processing software can be used to enhance the images. For example, this is what the trace looks like unprocessed, and here's what it looks like after playing with the brightness and saturation settings. The image can be further enhanced by adjusting line thickness and texture. The pen's cap is tied to a thin elastic band. By attaching it to the end of the pen and bending the support arm up or down, the weight the pen exerts on the iPad and therefore the amount of drag can be adjusted. The lower the weight, the lower the drag, the closer the lines are together. Here's a trace similar to the first with the elastic band attached. The closer lines bring out more detail and allow videos or images of the trace to be shown in large format without ending up looking too open. Having one pendulum rotating clockwise and the other counterclockwise sets them up in conflicting orbits that end up producing various ellipses. If both rotate in the same direction, they don't fight each other, and it's easier to produce round traces like this. Starting the upper pendulum moving in a very thin ellipse or line, while the lower pendulum is released on a line perpendicular to it, produces a long, thin ellipse like this. Starting with a wider ellipse and the lower weight swinging on the 12 o'clock line produces a more jagged looking galaxy. And of course, it's easy to select any color desired. While some interesting effects can be obtained by using the table either by itself or with other pendulums, like in these two images, I found it didn't add enough to justify the time and effort to build it, so I plan to discard it. I hope you enjoyed this second video about the iPadograph. Thanks for watching.